Qoom of the Week? Well, Qoom of the Week is a chance for you guys to learn how to build web applications so that when you attend hackathons, I'm assuming a lot of you are college students, and when you attend these hackathons, a lot of times students don't know what to do or what to build or how to get started. So if you attend these weekly workshops every now and then, you'll get a strong sense of the basics so that when you attend these hackathons, you can do a lot, as well as give you guys a lot of practice and problems to solve so that you can build up your, what ACF calls your coding portfolio, and submit that to when you want to get your internship job at, your dream internship job at, during the summer or something. So we really want to help you guys learn. And we also want to reward you guys for learning so that through these challenges, we're going to offer prizes, and as well as giving you a chance to apply what you learn on in real projects. So the challenge we're going to do is a week-long challenge. We're going to have every Saturday, we're going to have a Q&A session. And we're going to take the skills that you learned in the workshop, and we're going to give you guys a chance to apply those skills in a way that is visible to everyone else in this community. And we're also encouraging everyone to keep with the fundamentals. Try not to use Sass, try not to use Bootstrap, try not to use jQuery, try not just to copy and paste until you really understand those fundamentals. Because that will take you very, very far when you try to do something, when you try to solve a problem that no one has solved before. And we encourage you guys to work individually or in a group of 2. So that's kind of what we're promoting, and we're launching this today. And let's get started with our quick minute from our sponsor, ACF, and then we're going to go right into the workshop. Okay, Yoonjung, take it off.
Thank you so much. Do you mind if I can share my screen quickly?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, is that disabled? Oh, okay, now I can see it. So everybody can see our screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So thank you, Qoom, for giving us the quick 1 minute out of your busy workshop today. So we are Applied Computing Foundation, and literally this is what we do, learn and apply. So we are aligned with the Qoom very well. So if you guys have any web app idea using the JavaScript, HTML, CSS, please click here. And these are the things that you guys can reach out to us. And if you think it's a good thing, then please join our Discord especially. And we have a track record, including college teams who actually went through the entire web app project as a startup, mini startup idea, and all the way to they won the competition globally. And they actually right now patent, and they established the LLC, and they actually in the market right now. So we kind of nailed the entire startup, mini startup with the students. So if you think this is something you want to consider, please just fill out this simple survey where we want to see what kind of app using this HTML, CSS, JavaScript, using Qoom environment. We want to see what kind of app you want to develop. For example, simple meal plan, even K-pop, all these fun and crazy, things. We can help you. And also we have a global community. We did a virtual hackathon, and the team in Greece won, and they are building our relationship globally. So we can help you to even market your app if you decide to build to using ACF global community. So yeah, please fill this out, and then we can then stay in touch if we can collaborate together. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Yoonjung. And after this workshop, after doing hackathons, if you want to take it the next step further, Yoonjung's organization really can help you to make that true impact with coding. So we're really excited to have her as our partner. So let me share my screen again. I want to bring up a couple more things before we start building. the challenge I mentioned before, we want to let you know kind of what we're judging on before we jump into the workshop. So when we promote our challenge, which we're going to talk about at the end of the workshop, we really want to make it a valuable experience for beginners and experienced coders alike. So in our judging, we're looking to reward beginners and experienced developers, experienced coders. So you can, so these are their judging criteria. One's creativity, so how really creative the project is, of course. User experience, code elegance, meaning how well you write your code, and technical complexity. So when you see these things, when you see these challenges, don't be nervous, don't be scared. Attend our Q&A session. And also, if you are a beginner and you put effort into it, we're going to put you into that beginner category and give you a reward and accolades for that. All right. Let me get, let me check the chats to make sure I didn't miss anything. All right. So let me get started with the project. So what we're going to be building today is a responsive. So responsive means a website, a responsive website means a website that when you go to mobile view, so I can go over here to pretend I'm in mobile, it looks good on the phone as well as looking good on the desktop. So many of you might have been told that we need to use Bootstrap to make a responsive site and learn that technology, but luckily CSS has evolved to the point where you don't need Bootstrap to do responsive, so that there's one less thing for you guys need to learn to build a responsive site. The other thing we're gonna do is make it interactive. So right down here, we have this website here talking about endangered species. You can sort them. And here you can filter the results. And this is all done by data binding. And a lot of you might know of React, which is a very powerful data binding tool. But JavaScript has evolved to the point where it's easy for people to do data binding without having to add an extra library. So I'm eager to show you that to you as well today. And let's get started building this. I'm going to look at the chat. Please ask me any questions if you have any. Well, I'm going to get into the web development platform, Asma. So I don't see any more questions. So let's get started. All right, I have to move this Zoom thing out. All right. So I have notes here. Yes? Did someone?
Yes, I opened the Qoom application.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm going to share with you the notes for this workshop. I'm going to go pretty fast given the limited time we have. So if you are a beginner, don't feel overwhelmed. Just if it's too much for you to code, that's okay. Just watch and try to see the concepts going on, and then take these notes on your own time and try to go a little slower, and then come on Saturday for Q&A. And what we're going to do with these notes is we're going to give you two things at the end of these notes. There's two things here. If you click this link, we have a starter template that you can just copy and paste into Qoom and start hacking. And then also we have a list of resources here that you can go to learn more about all the different concepts we're going to review today. And to me, if you know these concepts here very well, you'll be able to build any beautiful website you could dream of. Maybe not any, but many different beautiful websites that are interactive and powerful to use. So if you learn these things, you should be able to be very comfortable going to a hackathon, very comfortable trying to do a project to help you get that internship job. So a lot of times on the web, there's too much information. You don't know what to learn. And that's why I put that list of resources there so that you can learn those as the fundamentals before you try to learn other things per web programming. Okay, so we talked about the project already. So we're going to be covering HTML first. And what we're going to be doing with Qoom is we're going to start with the HTML. I'll get into that later. Let's get everyone creating an account first. So if you guys can go to this website and create your account, just go here to sign up. If you already have an account, just log into your account and use it. If you don't have an account, just fill this out. So I'll just kind of fill it out. And then if you create your account, it should take you to a coding space. So try that again. And be mindful that this is beta software, so it might be a little glitchy. Let's see, sign up. Okay. Once you're in, so sorry guys, if it bugs out on you, just refresh and try again. We're just moving fast in our startup, trying to get this up to a core level of features before we really start heavily promoting it further than these workshops. And let me know on the group chat if you're not able to get in. Or let me know on the group chat if you are able to get in. So just maybe send me a link to your coding space. So if everyone can just send me a link to their coding space, I can get a sense of that everyone's in or not in before we go to the next step. I was able to get in. Just made an account, it's still loading though. All right, so if it keeps on loading, held down on it, just refresh and just try again, maybe with a different, you can enter a fake email. You can, so let's just give a couple more minutes for everyone to create an account. And then we'll get started. All right. Successful, definitely in 100%. All right. Okay. I'll give you like 30 more seconds and then we'll get started. So once you're in, I have my own domain name with Qoom, so I'm gonna be using Wizard Creator. But once you're in, if you guys can create a new folder for this project, just create a folder, and I'm gonna call mine, I don't know, gallery. You can call it whatever you want. I'm calling mine gallery. And then you should have a new folder here called gallery. You go in here, just create a new file. And let's just call it I'm gonna call it index.html. But you can call it whatever you want. Okay. So once you create your folder and create that file, you should be taken to what I was talking to about the canvas. This is like your blank piece of paper where we're going to be drawing with code to create the website. Okay, so we're going to be creating this. Okay. All right. Let me get my notes up again. Anyone having issues, frustrated, please let us know on the chat. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to write the HTML. So the HTML is like if you're an artist, it's like taking what you want to build in pencil and like sketching out an outline of what you want to create. So, and what you will see, as you create it, will pop up over here. The head here is what I call the brain. So inside is where you put in, inside here, you'll put in code that tells your website, what to do, what kind of actions to take. And then inside of the body is the skeleton. And this is where we write the HTML. This is where we make that pencil drawing of everything. And inside the head is where we tell the code to actually how to fill in the outlines. Okay. So in our notes, we also have a design here. So oftentimes, a developer, if you're working at an internship or something, someone who doesn't know how to code and who's paying you to implement their ideas would give you a design. And then you would be told to make something like this. So Sketch and another tool called Figma are very popular for designers to use to put their ideas down for a developer to go put it in a paper. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this desktop view. And we're going to just pencil in the outline. So the very first thing here is a navigation bar. So in here, you would put nav. And I'm just going to put navigation here, okay? And the second thing here is the this big thing called a hero image. In HTML, it's usually a header element. I'm just going to put a header here, okay? And you can follow along, or you can just watch. The next thing is this thing on the side where you usually put your tools. So I put a side here, and I'm put some tools there. And this is kind of my really rough outline of the website. And then here is this main section where the content is. So I'll write main, and I'll put this is going to be my content. And down here, I have the footer. Okay. So in my rough outline, I know I need to do a navigation, a header, a tools, some content, and some footer. All right. So as I build this thing out, the trick is to don't go right into one detail. Stick with the high level. So we started out with like this is the trunk of a tree. The body is like the trunk, the lowest level detail. Then we're branching out into 5 branches, which are the 5 main components of the website. Now we can branch into each of the branches. So in here, in the navigation, I have 3 things I want to navigate to. So I'm going to delete navigation. And the A element is used to navigate. So I'll put in home. about, and donate. So it may seem to beginners that there's a lot of things to memorize, like you have to know what all these special tags are. In the notes, I have, where are the notes? Where did my notes go? I think my notes went away from my sketch. Okay. In my notes, I have links here to that you can use to learn more about the tag names and stuff. So that's down here at the bottom, right here, these semantic tags. So if you don't know what these things are, you can go to that link and learn more about these tags. So I said the A tags for it to go someplace. If you put like an href here, you can put in a website link. And then when you click it, it will go to that website. So that's how you can add navigation to hyperlinks to your website. Okay, our next thing is the header. Let me get back to my design. So the header here is an image and some text. So I need to write an image and some text. So usually in your header, you put an H1 element. Okay. And save endangered species. Okay, we'll write that. Save endangered species. So now we're starting to really fill in all those details. Okay. Now we're going to put in our tools. We have two tools, sort and extinction risk. We have like two sections here. So I need to get this on another page here, guys, so that I can go back to the notes. So you can see here, I have two sections here for each sections of inputs. So each of these here is a section. I'm calling it a section because it's kind of its own little block. And then this, I'm putting in an H3 as a label. So let's fill that out. So I have H3, I have sort, and then I'm going to create a section tag, H3 extinction risk, and I'll put another section. Okay. So now if you guys are far behind, what you guys can do is like copy and paste. I'll just copy and paste right now, just kind of show you what I mean by that. Because I don't want you guys just to watch me for the hour just typing all this up. So I recommend you guys just copy and paste that. What this is the input here are these little radio buttons here. Each one of these little circles is this input element. And the one called checked is the one that is checked. So if I reload this frame, now I'm going to refresh this. You can see here that my first one here is checked. The one before name A to Z. And the all is checked. Okay. This name field here allows you to tie the circles together. So with the name field, it knows to deselect the other one. And so same here, so all because of that name field. Okay. And if I wanted to make this a checkbox, I could always just make this a checkbox and change that to a checkbox and converts to a checkbox. So there's all sorts of different types of input. Okay. Next, I am going to the main piece here. So this main piece right here, I'm going to put in only one of these things in here. And then we're going to load a data file to load all these ones in here. So we're going to write JavaScript to generate a card here for every single animal. But for right now, let's just create one card. Okay. So in my main, I'm going to create one card. So I'm going to use the div element to be one card. And then I have let me go back. Then it's pretty straightforward. Image. And then I have two things of text and a link to learn more. So I think I called that H3 and H4. Oops. And I have an A element. Okay. And I'm just put href there so that I can go someplace. So the text is African elephant. And H4 is vulnerable. And then the image, the source of the image, I'm just going to copy and paste. It's just a big long thing. Put that in there. And then I should have like an African elephant picture there pop up. Okay. And then finally, the footer. So in the footer, I have a div. And some text. So the reason why I have a div in the footer is so that I can move my text easier inside my footer, so I can put it exactly where my designer wants it, right in the center in the middle. And I think we wanted the same trick here with the save endangered species. So if you go here, up here, I have a span here, so I can move that save endangered species where I want it. So it's good to wrap your text around a span or a div element so that you can do that. And then I'm just missing my image for my header, so I'm just going to copy that. Okay. So now what we have here is all the content of the website, basically. We have like the pieces, all the pieces here, kind of in a rough outline. And this is what we call the structure of the site. Now, I just need using another language called CSS, change the way this structure looks. So I'll stop here for a second. I'm going to look at the chat and see if I have any questions I need answered. Okay. So what's the difference between a span and a div? Well, a div, I'll show you. Do you see I have save endangered species here? If I put another span here, and I put hello, the word hello should appear right to the next to save endangered species. So span will put your text right next to other text. Where if I put this as a div, it will make the text kind of own the whole entire row. It won't allow you to put any text next to it. So that's the main difference between span and div. How does all this format into the website? So we're going to use, that's going to be the next part of the workshop is we're going to use CSS. And when we're done using CSS, our website's going to look like this. So we've basically taken the same content and we're going to make it look good. Okay. Some people think CSS is like putting makeup on your website. Okay. Let me get back down to that. We're right here. Yes, I can explain the input again. So over here in the input, the type changes how you're asking. Well, input is for asking users for information, them to input information for you. So there's various types. There is text. So if I change that to a text box appears. If I change that to a checkbox, I think I showed you that before, a checkbox appears. If I change this into a, I don't know, what else? I think date time. I mean, it's date. Sorry, I think it's date. If I change that to a date, a calendar widget will appear. So then I can go up here and add date to it. So there's tons of different ways you can ask users for input. So all we're asking them to is to select this one or that one. That's why we're doing radio. Name links these two together. All right, so name basically says these two inputs are basically the same input. And I want to know if they want the value down or up. So if it's checked, then I know the value the user wants is down, right? But if this one was checked, then I know the value they want is up. And the way the user can let me know that is by checking the other one. Okay. All right. Hope that's good enough. The source code is all in the notes. So the source code, if you go all the way to the bottom, the source code's all right here at the very bottom. Okay. Getting back to the CSS. Sorry if I'm scrolling too fast. We just have a lot to cover, so. Okay. So our first job in styling our website is putting the main details. So our main details is header. I can use these little triangles in my editor here to collapse next to the line numbers. So I can see the main branches I want to look at. So I'm going to style this using CSS the same way I wrote the HTML. I'm going to start with the body, style the body. Then I'm going to style each of these branches. And then I'm going to style all these little sub branches. And the technical term is not branch, it's child. So I'm probably going to switch over to that term. So we want to add our style to the body. So we just add in our head. Now this is where the brain of the website is. We add style. And I am going to put body here. This is saying I want to style this branch, this element. And in the curly braces, I write this. I just basically tell it what I want. And again, it's just special knowledge. You just have to go to those links I gave you and you learn all these special terms. And you can always Google and whatever. It's really easy to find these terms. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this white space around the website. I don't know if you see it or not very well, but there's this ugly white space around here. If I look at the design, the picture here is right there. There's no white space. So that is called margin, and I'm going to put that to 0. And that puts everything right to the side. Okay. What else do I have here? So if you look here, I have quite a few different things here. So the first thing is, I wanted to, before I get in the grid, let me get into these here. I'm going to make the width of the website 100 VW. So I want to make I'm going to fix my website to be 100 VW. And that adds these scroll bars now. And VH, that makes it 100% the height. Now I don't want the user to be able to scroll in X. So I'm going to do overflow -X hidden. So you can see it's just these terms where you just say, I don't want it to do this, or I want it to do that. And then you can just Google the term, figure out how to do it. And then over time, as you build more of these projects, you become fluent enough to build things. So now I can't scroll left or right. I want to scroll in Y automatically. So if this page gets too long, I want to have those scroll bars. Next thing is I want to change the font of my website. So the designer said, basically go to this font family, go here, and voila. And in a tool like Sketch, a designer would give you, you can just, there's these panels here. Where is it? I'm in the wrong view. There we go, inspector. Let's go. I can inspect these little things and I can see, oh, my designer wants open sans. So I can go in here and then put open sans there. And the back and the color of the text. I don't know if you see it, but it's not, it's actually, the designer wants 223. So that's really dark gray. All right, but now you can see that, where's my text go? Well, the problem is I need to position my elements. I need to position these children here. So the way I want to position them is in a nice grid. So you can see on the design, there's like these red dotted lines. That's kind of showing you how it's all like everything's aligned nicely horizontally and vertically in a grid. So I want to put that in my website. So I'm going to say display grid. Okay. And that's here. And I'm going to now put things in where I want them. So this might look weird to you at the beginning. Areas. I'm going to have two main, in my outer grid, I'm going to have two rows. I have one column, two columns here, and the other column here. Let me get out of inspector mode. So this is one column, and this is another column. That's kind of like my, and then when I go into the main, I have all these little smaller columns, which I'll divvy up later. So I'm going to have my nav, I'm going to call it in, take up two columns. And then I can just go like this and kind of make a nice little grid. Then I'm going to have my aside, my header take up two columns. And I'm having my aside and my main, each should be in a separate column, and then my footer and my footer take up two columns. So I have one navigation, one header taking two columns, an aside in one column, a main in one column, and my footer taking two columns. Okay. Now I'm going to define the sizes of those columns. So I go grid, if you look at my notes right here, grid template rows. That defines how I want to size my rows now. So the first row, I'm going to have, what was it, 50 pixels. So my navigation bar is going to be 50 pixels high. This image here is going to be 400 pixels. Then my main content, I'm going to auto, so it will stretch and add scroll bars. And then my footer, I only want to be 50 pixels as well. And then I'm going to add columns. And the columns I have is, I think this column is fixed, where the aside is, and that's 300 pixels. And then I'm going to stretch everything else to be the width of the screen. All right. All right. Now I have one other issue is my images are kind of like not obeying things. It's like popping out of my, those containers. So until I style those details, I'm just gonna make my width like 100 pixels to make my images a lot smaller. Okay. Okay. So now I have, as you can see, I have things in 2 columns and I have things in rows, but my nav isn't taking up 2 columns. Well, the reason why is I haven't told the code yet that in means nav. And that I'll do now that I'm ready to style each of these branches. So I'm going to style nav. So once I do nav, I can give it a grid area. It's a way to give it a name, in. And now it's spanning 2 columns. And I can do the same thing with the aside. Area A. Main. Grid area M. And then footer. Grid area F. And then I think I forgot header. And my header right now is only 1 column. You see that? So now I need to make that 2 columns wide by calling it H. Okay. So now if I wanted my footer to be at my very top and my header to be at the bottom, I can change this to FFHH and then change the layout of my site. See, now my header is down here and my footer is up here. So now just by having this nice little part in my CSS, I can just move whole elements around and experiment as an artist, like, oh, I want this over there, I want this over here, and see what I like. So later on, we're going to design this for mobile. And what we're going to do for mobile is define another set of areas so that it looks, things are positioned different for that. All right. One other thing I like to do is I like to put colors on my CSS. This will help me. This is just like, if you're an artist, right, you might like put little things on the drawing in pencil to let you know this is this thing that you would erase later. So I can just put in like light blue here. And this allows me to see the size of everything before I really start styling everything out. So I always like pastel colors because it's easier on the eyes. So now you can kind of get a better sense of how these pieces are kind of laid out as I design this thing. Okay. All right, so now I'm ready to start styling more of each of these details. So let's start with the nav. Okay, let me stop there. Any other questions? Is the CSS the same for an external file for a grid? What do you mean by external file, Katja? Do you mean like a .css file? Oh, yeah. It will work the exact same thing. If you have a dot, some people like to put, make CSS a separate file, and it will work the exact same. I like having everything in one file and then using triangles to expand and collapse. Can I explain grid template 50 pixel, 400 pixel? Yes. Yes, now I have my things color coded. I think it's a better chance for me to explain that. So grid template rows describes how these stripes across the screen are defined. So my first stripe is this pink stripe. It's 50 pixels high. The second one is the blue stripe. It's 400 pixels. This one's auto. So auto just fills in the auto calculates the height based on what all the other heights are. And the footer is 50 pixels. So auto just automatically calculates what the height should be based on the height of your screen. So if I change this to 200, you see my main section just popped way up because it auto calculated where everything else stayed fixed. And I can do the same thing for the columns. I can make this 100, and that will make the columns a lot smaller. Okay. Grid uses different syntax. Yeah, Grid uses different syntax. If you want to learn Grid, again, in my notes, there's a link where you can go in and learn all that syntax. Oh, that was in the sketch here. I went over here in the sketch and clicked. So there was a question about the red lines. I was able to go here, inspector beta. And what does in actually mean? Oh, in here means I want my nav element, what I'm calling in, to be 2 columns wide. So if I had like, for example, I could put HH here and in here. Now my navigation is 2 rows high and my H is 2 rows high, but they're each in 1 column. So in just kind of describes how I want it, how many columns wide I want it to be. Okay. Cool. All right, let's continue. Next, let's style this nav element so that the elements are over here. So you can see my home, about, donate are over on the right-hand side, and it's right in the middle of the white section and all that. But here, my things are up at the very top, all the way to the left. All right. So to change this, I'm going to change this to white, by the way, because I know I need white there. And I'm going to use a different CSS system called Flex. And what Flex allows you to do is take the branches, the children inside the elements, and cluster them in certain ways. You can expand them like jelly, you can shrink them, you can move them around, you can cause them to wrap, you can put them in columns and rows. It's a lot more flexible because you can stretch the things around. Where grid is very, very rigid, where it's like fixed grid. So what we're gonna do is do a display flex here. To use that flex system. Okay, and again, I'm in my notes. I'm right here. Okay, and there's this comment here, justify content flex in, puts it to the right-hand side. So let's try that. So I go there, this should move over to the right. See, moves over to the right. So if I do flex start, it will be at the start. If I did space around, I think that's the right one, it stretches it. So there's all these special ways to make things happen. But I want this to be at the end of the flex box. So that's why it's flex in, because I want it to be the right-hand side is like the end. I know in different languages, it's not that way, but and the next thing I want to do is center it in the row. So before in CSS, this was very hard to do, centering things vertically. But now Flexbox allows you to do that pretty elegantly. And the last thing I want to do is move it 80 pixels to the right using padding. So padding right, I guess padding. I don't want any padding on top or bottom, but I want padding on the right. And that should move it over. Okay. But still, I need to have it like spaced out. So to make it spaced out, I'm going to add an extra padding to each A element inside my nav. So this then uses a different display. It's called the box model. To implement the box model, you need to have displayed block. And the box model allows you to put control how much white space there is around the text. Using padding, I'm going to do 0, I think it was 0.20 pixels. And now I have that nice spacing there, just like I had here. And then there's some color. I guess I need to make my color. The browser will see a hyperlink and make it blue automatically. So you have to tell it explicitly you want it to be black. And the designer didn't want any underlines. So I'm going to get rid of all my underlines by decoration. No. Okay. And that will get rid of the underline. All right. So voila, we finished our first styling of our first branch. And we got this thing to look like that. Okay. So now let's do our header. So the header now, we're going to be using CSS positioning. What I mean by that is the trick in the header is that we have an element on top of an element. So Katja, if you have any issues, share a link with on your notes, and I think someone, Nade, could help you, Margia can help you look at your code, okay? Okay, getting back. So with CSS positioning, you can implement what's called layering, where you can put elements on top of each other and then shift them around relative to each other. So to do that, we're going to use this position relative inside our header. So our header, I'm going to have, first of all, I'm going to make the width 100% of what container is in, and height 100%, and position relative. Okay. That's not going to change much visually here yet, but it kind of says, now I have my header position relative, I can take the children inside my header and do things to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my image. If you look here, I'm going to make the width and height the same. I'm going to make my image stretch to the width and height of my header. But that looks horrible now because it's all like squished, and poor little panda, he's like, I don't know, he's been pressed by it looks bad. So we can use this object fit thing in CSS that's new to tell it that, I don't want it to squish. I want it just to cover my area. I just want it to nicely cover my area. But what this will do is it will just take your pixels and kind of put your image in the upper left-hand corner. So I need to put this object position to tell it to position it in the middle. Okay. And that should like center the image now. Okay. So, but my text, what that did is it pushed my text way down here. So now I have like my text over my other things, and it looks pretty bad. So now I'm going to take that H1 element here, and I'm going to position it so that it's on top of my image. So, well, first I'm going to do position absolute. So I'm positioning it. What that allows me to do is to use these top, I can put it to the top 0. And this will move it to the top. left 0, we'll move it to the left. Right 0 will make the edge of this element go all the way to the right, and this will make it go all the way to the bottom. So if I put a background color, you can't really see what's going on there, but let me show you. So you can see how now my H1 is stretched all the way to the top, meaning to the left and to the right. If I get rid of the right, it's only here. So adding right will force it to stretch all the way over. Okay. And then you see this white space over on top and bottom. That's just, again, the margin. I can get rid of the margin to get rid of that. Okay. Okay. And now I can move this text to be right in the middle. So I'm going to use, actually I need to use display flex again, so I can take the child element and put it right in the middle, just like I did up here. So I had align item center. And then I had, this time instead of justify content, I need to, see, center puts it right in the middle. And then this would move it to the right, but I want it to be right in the middle here too. So, okay. And why do I have hello there? Oh, because of the div. Okay, let me remove div. Okay. All right. But in the sketch, it was white, it was pretty. So now I'm gonna style that span element that holds all my text. And I'm just gonna copy and paste this and talk about it. So all of this is doing is making the color white, making the font size the right size, adding a nice little shadow, and again, putting it in the middle, which I don't think I need. Yeah, I think that was because I'm already putting it in the middle with this. Okay. All right, so now we have our header. All right. Next, let's look at our aside. Our aside, or by the way, I can take this out by clicking that link, and I can see what this looks like in full screen. So I'm just going to do that both so you can see in full screen here. So it's starting to really look like the design now. Next, I need to work on the aside part and really get this all working out well. So let's get rid of that green. And I'm down here now. So again, I'm going to use display flex. This time, I'm going to flex my items all in one column. And I'm going to put in a margin to make it over on the right and all that. So first of all, let's put that display flex. Okay. And then that, by default, flex puts all your items in a row. If you want to change that, you do flex direction column. Right now, everything is in a column again. Margin left 40 pixels, was it? Yeah, margin 40 pixels. And then I have padding top, padding 0, 40 pixels. Okay, that just kind of sets the white space around for me. Okay. I think this was margin top 40 pixels. Okay. So the first one puts margin up here, and the second one is padding. The difference between margin and padding, if I put a border here, let me show you what the differences are. The differences is the margin goes outside the border, and the padding is inside the border. That's really the big difference. Okay. So now I think we have all the aside stuff. Now we need to do the H3, so we can make this the way we want. So just again, I'm working through the details, taking each, now I'm in the sub branches of a side now, and I'm looking at my H3, doing that one first. Looks like that needs to be capitalized. So I can use this text transform capitalize. Capitalize. Oh no, uppercase. It already is capitalized, uppercase. And that should change all the letters to uppercase. And font weight is how bold we want it. So 400. Okay. All right, our next detail is section. So let's write aside section. For those who've coded before with CSS, you probably used class names and IDs a lot. And yeah, if I'm going too fast, please just listen in and just on your own time, look at the notes and also use the challenges as a chance to really try to apply. Okay, getting back. With CSS, you can add class names and IDs to select your elements. I'm not showing that you today just because I'm trying to keep things simple. And I really want to drill home the idea of styling in different levels of details. And by doing this way, I really am sticking to that paradigm where I'm going into the top level details first to the most detailed last. Okay, aside section. Well, this is I want it in a grid now. Because if you look at the design, it's not flexible at all. It's kind of like in this fixed row and column, each one of these sections, with the one column being the input and the other column being the label. So, all right. So I'm just going to copy and paste this just so that we can get to the JavaScript part. I don't want to. I think I've taught you all about the grid and all that. So let me just copy and paste this, and you guys can copy and paste too. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, and I really want to get to the other material. Okay. One thing to call out on the input is in CSS, you can call a transform, which you can scale things, you can rotate things, you can put things in 3D. It's a really cool little property. So all I'm doing here is I'm making my input box 1.5 times bigger. Other than that, I think everything else you've pretty much seen. All right. And let's get to the main. Where's the main? Oh, I guess I was doing footer next. Let me do main next. So let's just copy all the main. So main goes next. So main, I'm doing display flex. And since in my design, I have all these things here, but as they shrink, they kind of flex into a column. So what I want is, as I add more cards, I want more and more things to fill up a column, which you'll see soon once we get to the JavaScript. Okay. Again, I'm using object fit cover here to make my image look nice. And then I'm using that box model margin and padding to really get white space where I want it around my text. Okay, I think I got everything there. Main. I don't have any text on my link here, so I think we had learn more. Forgot that. That's why we don't see that. Okay, and then finally, let's do our footer. And the footer, again, I'm just using that display flex center trick to make the text in the footer all nice in the middle and centered. At least it should be. Okay, why isn't it not nicely in the middle and centered? Here. Okay, yeah, it's really nicely in the center here. The reason why I think it's not here is because of the fact that it's a lot of text. So I should add some padding here to the left and to the right. So 0 on the top and maybe like 10 pixels left and right. Yeah. So the issue was that the text was too long to be centered. So I need to add some white space there. And I do a text align center to make this, when it wraps, make sure it's all in the middle. Okay, what is grid template columns supposed to be? All right, so grid template columns here, for example, in this aside section, is saying that the width of the column that the inputs are on are only 40 pixels wide, where the second thing, auto, is the width of here to here. Okay. All right. Okay. So we have 20 minutes left, so I want to spend maybe 10, 15 minutes on the JavaScript and then 5 minutes on the mobile stuff. So, all right. So now we basically have our website. But the problem is we only have one card, not all the cards. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're done styling for a while. We're going to collapse the style. And I'm going to write some JavaScript here. Okay. And if I make this a JavaScript module, I can keep my JavaScript clean. So it's a really good idea. We won't go into the details of it, but it's a really good idea to make your JavaScript module so that if you add other code, it won't, the code you wrote here won't break the code of other places where there's code running. So what we want to do first is we have a bunch of data, and I'll send you the link. Here, of all the kind of animals that the Worldwide Life Foundation is worried about. So there's almost like 100 odd animals in here. And we have the name, we have the status and such. And what we're going to need to do is import this code into our page so that we can use this code to programmatically create those cards. So I'm going to send this to you guys. There, whoops. There you go. All right. And what I want you to do is copy it and basically create a new file. Call it like data.json. Whoops, not data.json. Great. And paste it. So now you've basically uploaded all your data that we want to use for our website. Okay. So what we need now to do is import this data, or what's called fetch this data. And we can do that using this thing called the fetch API. Okay, so I'll show you the code. So we're going to create this function here. Sorry, I should show you the code. Called fetch data. We're going to call this fetch function, pass in the name of the file, grab it, convert it into a JavaScript object, store it in this variable, and then when the page loads, we want to call it so it does it immediately. So the first thing we do is I'm going to create a function. And a sync function is a special function that allows you to run code and wait for it to load. So I'll show you that. So basically, I have a function. I'm going to call this function when the page loads. And I have a variable called data that I'm going to put the data in when I fetch it. Okay. So I'm going to create a variable called response to get the response. So I'm going to put in data.json. And I'm going to wait. Since it has to make a web request, it might take 1 second or so to get a response. So I want to wait until I get a response back. And I'll get that code there. And then I'm going to await. Might be a lot of data. It might take a long time to convert that into JavaScript. So I'm going to have to wait for the computer to be done with converting it. So I'll convert that to JSON. And then when I'm done, I'm just going to put whatever I did and put that into this variable data here so I can use it other places in my script. Okay. So again, if you're just following along, just copy and paste this. And we'll continue. So now our job is to take that data and create cards out of it. Okay. So we've already created this function here. So what we want to do is take each data and convert each item in the data into a card. So we'll do that. So first of all, I'm going to call, what did I call it here? Bind data, create a function called bind data. And its job is to basically take whatever is in data and put it into cards. Okay. So, well, I want to put it inside the main section. I want to put it in here. So I need to go grab that and put that in the variable. So I call that $main. Main. And then I basically going to put, I'm going to clear out whatever's in there. So right now I have this in here. I'm going to delete that. And then I'm going to, what did I say here? Yeah, then I'm going to go for each item. Where's my data? So you can see here, here's one item, here's another item. So for each of these items, I'm going to convert them into a card. So I'm going to call, what did I call it here? Bind item. Okay. I have to create that function now. Bind item. Item. Okay. And so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to programmatically create this div. So I'm going to go constant div. Div. So now I've created a div. I just created this. Next thing I'm going to do is take this card data and put in, I don't want to put African element, but I don't want to put in these things here. I want to put in what I have in here. So I'm going to copy this, so I don't have to write it again. And I'm going to write constant card. And I'm going to use what's called the backticks. And what the backticks allow me to do is I can delete the image, for example, and put in item dot images. Okay, so that will put in whatever this is inside the card. And the same thing for African elephant. I'm going to do item dot common name. and then see how vulnerable it is, its status, its conservation status, and then its length, which is called links. Okay. All right. Have that over to make it look a little, whoops, prettier. And then I'm going to put that. I'm going to put that card inside my div, and then I'm going to add. I'm going to make a new branch or a new child in that name with that div. Okay. So all I need to do now then is after I'm done binding my data, after I'm done fetching my data, I should call bind data, whoops, to make it happen. See, now voila, I have all my stuff. And now you can see the power of that Flexbox. So if I make my screen a little smaller, you can see that the size of the columns and rows are dynamic based on the width of the screen. And that's one great thing about the Flexbox. Okay. And there's a lot of cool things you can do in Flexbox. If you look at that article I sent, and you guys can explore with your challenge. All right, that was pretty fast. Any like critical questions I need to answer? All right. The next thing is we need to now make it interactive. So JavaScript allows you to bind data. So we don't have to write 100 of these things. That would be very painful for us. Instead, we're able to write code to do that. And the second thing it allows us to do is make it interactive so that when you want to sort it, we can sort it and we can filter it. Because there's just a lot of data here to look at. All right. All right, to do that, we first need to know when the user clicks these radio buttons. So we need to add what are called event listeners so that when the user clicks this, we can run a function so that we can do something useful with our code. So first thing we need to do is find these things. So I'm going to say let sort. I'm going to get all my sort items. What did I call it? My notes. Sort inputs. And again, I'm using this query selector. This time I'm going to select all of them. And the query selector is the exact same thing as this. So the way I selected it in CSS, an aside was a side section input. So I can copy that basically and put that here, but I don't want all the inputs. I only want the ones with the name equals to sort. So I only want the one's name equal to sort here. Okay. And then I want to do the same thing for the, the risk inputs. So it's the exact same code. It's this time I want the name equal to risk, I said. What do we call it? Yeah, risk. Okay. And since there's only these inputs on the page, you really don't need a side section. So that was just, I just wanted to highlight that the selectors were the same. Okay, now we're going to add the event listeners. So to do that, I like to do that at the bottom here. Sort inputs. So listener. Oh. Okay, I see what I was doing. For each, because there's a lot of them. So for each input, I'm going to add input dot add event listener. Okay, so for each one of these, I'm going to add an event listener. So when I click it, when I click the sort, I want to run a sort function. And when I click risk inputs, I want to call a filter function. I want to filter it. I think that's what I call them. Yeah. So, okay. So then I just need to create my functions. For function sort and function filter. All right. So I need to know what the value was here. I need to know what this value is. Okay. So the thing I clicked on gets passed into a variable here, E. And actually, I don't need E. I think I was there's two ways to do it. I just want to stick to the way I'm doing in the notes. So you can also get it through this variable. This is a special variable. It represents the thing that called the function. So the thing that called the function is this input here. So if I want this dot value equal to up, so if I check this one, then I want to sort these upwards. Then I want to sort upwards. And I have another if statement. If this dot value is equal to down, then I want to sort down. Okay. So now it's just a matter of sorting it. So I have my data here, all right here. I can go data.sort. And JavaScript has a lot of array functions that are very, very powerful. And I'm not going to have time to explain to them today to you guys, but what I'm going to use them for is I'm actually having to put in the logic to do the sort. So basically, A and B here are two items that it's trying to sort. So it's, to be any of these two items in here. And what I want to look at is the name. So I want to say if a.common name is bigger than a.common name, that means alphabetically. So A goes after B alphabetically. Then I want that to go, if A is, if I'm sorting up, then I want A to go on top and then B to go on bottom. Okay. And then when I sort the other way, I want to go the other way. Okay. So now, after I'm done sorting the data, I need to bind that data again. I need to redraw everything. So I just need to call bind data again so that it will clear out what's in the page and then it will then draw it in the order I want. So now if I go like that, I can sort. Okay. And then filter is something very similar. It's just this time I need to create another variable called filter data that is a subset of this data. So basically I'm taking the whole data and I only want a small portion of it, so I'm filtering it. So if this dot value is equal to all, I want all the data, then basically filtered data is equal to data. If now this, did I do else or if here? I did else. Otherwise, if it's any of these other things here, I then need to put filtered data is equal to data. I need to filter it instead of sorting it. So I have an item here that I need to filter. Did I put an item here? Yeah, I have item. And basically I want to look at the conservation status. Basically I want that is equal to the value. Then, is that what I did? Yeah. That is equal to the value. Then I want to keep it. And then I want to bind data. But this time, I want to bind with the filtered data, not with the whole data. So what I need to do is I'm going to put in, how did I do this here? Filtered data. I want to make sure I have it the same way. Yeah. Then I put in data here. If I put data here, and it will use this. So then I can just make sure wherever I called bind data, I just put in data. Okay. So then now it's smart enough to bind with whatever I give it. So now I can filter. So I can look at all the critically endangered animals and be really sad because a world without orangutans will be a sad world. Okay. And then look, I can even click here. It takes me to my link. Whoops. I'm in an iframe here, so I can't do that. Let me go back. Yeah, when you're in this frame, just click open link in new tab. And then you can see the links work too. All right, so that's JavaScript. And that's how you can add some basic sorting and filtering to a website. Next, finally, is we need to make this look good on the mobile. So on mobile right now, if I go here to inspect here, I can go to this special thing the browser allows me to view. And it's pretty bad. So you can see the sides way over here, and I have all this white space here, and that's, that doesn't look good. So according to my designer, where's the design? It needs to look like this, okay? And the other thing to do with Qoom is if you want to see what it looks like on your own phone, you can click this link here. Why is it not working? Okay, we used to have this working. Is it working for anyone? Do you guys see a barcode here at all? All right, so I guess that we've been pushing a lot, so I guess that feature broke. But anyway, it's a feature that when you click on, you'll see a barcode, and you can take a picture of it, and then you can see what it looks like on your phone. We'll fix that and get that out tonight. All right, let's now continue with trying to make this work on mobile. So the big difference here is that this is a lot smaller, and this now is on top and not over to the left. So what you can do is add another style tag here. And here we can put in our mobile overrides. Okay. And in the notes, we are down here. So here are the overrides, this media thing. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. Copy, paste, and then I'm going to select this and move it over. All right. So what this is saying is if the width of the screen is less than 760, these are the styles I want to go with. So you can see now the width of my panel here is less than 760. And now I have all my content in one column, no longer two columns. The height of my header is no longer 400 pixels, but 240. And that's a typo, that should go away. And the other thing is the grid template areas is 30 pixels, 140, 1 feet FR is another way of saying to auto stretch it. So now you can see it's in two columns, my sorting. So using the display grid, I can quickly move things from one column to two columns that's really fixed. And everything still works. The other thing you need to do is, I mentioned up here, on a lot of mobile phones, the resolution is really, really good. So if you want to scale it so that the pixels are not so small, you can add this meta tag here, and that will grow the size of a pixel to be scaled to the width of the actual phone in inches. So it will look nice. You don't have these tiny, tiny, tiny text. So that's that. And that's how you kind of make, that's how you make it responsive. You can just take another style here and override it, or using the flex system, which automatically tries to make it responsive. And you can have a nice site. So that's it. So we did that in about 45 minutes. So let me look at some of your questions now. So if you have an external file, you can just take whatever you have in the script tag, copy it. So if I want to make an external file out of this, Katja, I can just Control X. I can create a new JavaScript file. I can call it, I don't know, index.js, create. Paste that in there. And then inside my HTML here, I can just link to it. I can give it a link. I can give it a source. Index.js. And then there you go. Still there. Any other questions? Oh, yeah, it's a special type of JavaScript. Module is allowing you to write JavaScript that won't affect other JavaScript. So if I don't have module here, and I wrote another JavaScript file, and I defined another variable called data, that other JavaScript file is going to destroy what my previous JavaScript file called data. But if I have a type module, then I can keep my variable names the same and not have to worry about the conflict. Could you share your code? So all my code right now, if you want to see it, it's here. And you can always just put edit in the name, and you can always see your code. It's also in the notes too. All right, but the background, what did I do wrong? All right, Alicia, you forgot the semicolon. Yes, that's something very annoying to anyone who's trying to code with CSS, is trying to remember the semicolons. So if you look at my side, I have a semicolon right here. Does that make sense, Alicia? Okay. Cool. All right. All right. So we have another about 24 minutes, I think. Let me get to this about the challenge coming up. So, Guille, do you want to talk about the challenge? I think you have all the resources, or are they all here on the slides? Everything's on the slides, Guille?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll continue. All right, just wanted to make sure. All right, so at the beginning of the workshop, I mentioned that there is a challenge, and the challenge is really meant for beginners and for experienced people, and we're planning to reward both. So these are the topics. So creativity, now that we've built something, I can go into more detail. Creativity would be like here, basically how pretty the site looks. Maybe you put in a cool gradient effect, or maybe you just had a good sense of how close these things should be together or something. Just how professional, how nice the site looks. User experience is about how easy is it for the user to use your application, or how accessible your site is. So if we put the sort here on the bottom, it's not as good user experience as if we put the sort on the top. So let me show you what I mean. Let's say we put the sort, we did something like this. Oh, I'm still global mode. Let me get out of this. Let me go over here. So if we put the sort on the bottom, it's like way over here, and this is, you know, it's not very good looking, but it's kind of hard to use. So I have to go way down here to use it. Let me refresh again. I don't want to make it that bad. My footer, something wrong with my footer. Oh, I think I forgot footer here. That's what. Okay. So this one might be harder to use. It might look better because it stretches the whole screen, but it's harder to use because your controls are down here. So that would be user experience, how well you put those controls and how accessible, how easy it is for somebody to use your site. How many buttons, they don't have to use that many button clicks. It's easy to find the way to interact. Let me undo all that. Okay. The next thing is code elegance. That is, you see how my code is all nicely indented? Oftentimes, beginners would, you know, have code like this might be way over here. It would still work, but it's ugly to look at, hard to understand what you're doing when code is not indented nicely. And the last one, technical complexity. So, and that's really in the JavaScript and how fancy you can get in the JavaScript, as well as in the CSS actually, and how cool animations and technical you can make things happen, how interactive, and what kind of cool effects you can put in the site. All right, so let's go to the 2 challenges now. We have an open challenge, which is open to everyone. And this is really to lower the barrier of entry. And the idea is to build a searchable responsive gallery view. So basically take the template I gave you guys and put in your own data. And also put in your own styles. If it's putting in your own data is too much for you, just play with the styles. And see what you can do with this template and see how you can repurpose it to other things. You can make it into a shopping cart, you know, like a product site. You can make it into a, if you like League of Legends, you can make it a gallery about, I don't know, your favorite League of Legends professional players. You can do all sorts of cool things. And the prizes we have are, the winner would get 3-month Qoom pass, so you get 3 months for free using the Qoom face. Most creative would get a 1-month Qoom pass, and best beginner also. That's that beginner prize. We want to really reward beginners. And we have a Qoom creator group that we are using for us to improve our product and get user feedback, but for you guys, to give you guys internship opportunities at a tech startup that you can then put on your resume and show others how you solve problems, hard problems, and show others how you can make an impact so that you can prove to them that you're worth a nice big salary. The second challenge is we are putting a fee here so that we can really reward those monetarily with some technical, with some really, you know, with your technical chops. So we're trying to make this a really low barrier entry, but we want to make it really full of people who really, really want to do this and really are confident that they can actually win a nice monetary prize. So we're adding a $50 gift card to this, and I think it's going to be okay. We're adding a $50 gift card, and what we want to do is using what we taught you. Go to those links and see if you can make a nicer layout than what we did. So for example, we have this really boring kind of grid layout. It looks nice, it's easy on the eyes. But there are a lot of our more artistic layouts like out there. So one is Pinterest. One reason Pinterest was so popular is because of the intuitive but also innovative layout they came up with. Pinterest. How do you spell Pinterest? Pinterest. Okay. So you can see here, everything's in a column. Everything's kind of like in a brick view. It's very cool to look at. And with the Flexbox system, you can actually build this type of layout. And using JavaScript and CSS animations, you can actually make things happen when you move the mouse, scroll, and all sorts of cool things. The other thing is also toggling between layouts. So let's say you have like, we have this layout. Let's say you wanted to make a layout. Let me get the things back up. Well, what we're thinking is you add a third little interactive piece here that you could say, oh, I want to have like a grid layout like this, or a Pinterest layout, and you can have a radio button that would toggle between the two layouts. Okay. Oh, and here's another one, a light box type of layout, where you've probably seen something like this before, where you click on the image, it brings up, like, you have your things here, and then you have like a highlighted view here. And you can try to build something like this. Again, this is not using any libraries or anything. So, okay. So that surprises. So how to submit a challenge. The deadline is the end of the month. Details will be shared with you this Saturday. And what's next is we have a Q&A session this Saturday at 2 p.m. where we would like to give you guys free help. And you can click this link and you know, register for that class. So we're going to use the Zoom registration system so that it's tied into the Zoom meeting, so there's no confusion about what the Zoom link is and all that. Okay, and then finally, DA is putting together our workshops coming up. So our first workshop, next workshop is the CSS animation. So this workshop is kind of, you know, it's hard. We want fast. Our next workshop, we're going to try to go deeper into one simple concept around CSS animation to give you guys a chance to interact with me more and actually have a chance to code more and experience, have it more of like a two-way kind of workshop instead of me just kind of lecturing you guys. Then the next workshop is building data visualizations. So you probably have seen with COVID right now, for example, and this is really trying to get you guys ready for hackathons. So you've probably seen COVID-19 dashboards. There's lots of these things. Say images. So you've probably seen a lot of these type of dashboards where you have infographics and a cool way to take your data and make heat maps and things like that. So we're going to teach you how to do that using a library called Plotly. So that is really starting to get you guys ready for those hackathons, as well as anything you might want to do on your own. Then we're going to go back and do something simpler, and we're going to build an application that allows you to take a picture with your phone and apply image filters on it so that you guys can build your own like Instagram kind of thing. And then we're going to take that a step further in the fourth workshop and teach you how to build a socket-based sharing app so that you can take a picture on your phone and share it with your friends and have your own little private little social media kind of website around pictures you take. And you can type text, and you can just have that with your friends, and no one else is on it. And you could be, it's really like Snapchat to the extreme, because it's your web app. You can delete the code whenever you want. Okay, so that's what's coming up. And if this goes well, we'll continue these workshops, and we'll actually next time we'll probably have some links to hackathons you guys can go to apply your skills. And we really appreciate you guys coming today. I'll stay here for more questions. Yes, these workshops will happen every Wednesday, and you're welcome. I'm glad you guys learned a lot, and I hope to see you guys next Wednesday.